First Contact and Ultimatum. The crisp mountain air filled Dr. Elena Ray's lungs as she stepped out of the Atacama Large Millimeter Arrays Control Center. The array of radio telescopes spread out before her, their dishes pointed skyward in silent vigil. As the lead astronomer at ALMA, Elena had seen her fair share of cosmic wonders, but nothing could have prepared her for what she was about to discover. She made her way back to her workstation, a steaming cup of coffee in hand. The night shift was always quiet, but Elena preferred it that way. The silence allowed her to hear the whispers of the universe more clearly. As she settled into her chair, a series of rapid beeps erupted from her console. Elena's brow furrowed as she studied the incoming data. The signal was like nothing she had ever seen before, a pattern so complex and organized that it could only be artificial in origin. "This can't be right," she muttered, her fingers flying across the keyboard as she ran diagnostic after diagnostic. But each test confirmed what she already knew in her heart. This was it. First contact. Within hours, observatories around the world were abuzz with activity. The signal wasn't just coming from one location in space. It was everywhere, surrounding Earth like an envelope of alien communication. As news of the discovery spread, governments scrambled to respond, and the public alternated between excitement and terror. In Washington, D.C., President Amelia Chen stood before the United Nations Security Council, her face grim but determined. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment, "we face an unprecedented situation. The signal we've detected is not just a message, it's a harbinger. Our deep space monitoring stations have confirmed that a massive fleet of unknown origin is approaching our solar system at speeds we once thought impossible." The chamber erupted in a cacophony of voices, fear and disbelief palpable in the air. President Chen raised her hand, calling for silence. "I know this is difficult to process, but we don't have the luxury of time for denial. We must act, and we must act now. I'm calling for an immediate global cooperation initiative. All military, scientific, and economic resources must be pooled. As of this moment, we are no longer separate nations. We are Earth, united in the face of an unknown threat." Across the globe, the machinery of human civilization groaned as it shifted to meet this new reality. Military bases buzzed with activity as mothballed equipment was hastily recommissioned. Scientists worked around the clock, analyzing every scrap of data from the alien signal. In factories and laboratories, experimental technologies were fast-tracked from theory to production. At the European Space Agency's Mission Control in Darmstadt, Germany, Flight Director Adrian Fournier watched as the alien fleet's trajectory was plotted on the massive screen before him. "Mon Dieu," he whispered, the color draining from his face. "They'll be here in less than a week." The news hit the public like a thunderbolt. Social media exploded with theories, prayers, and farewells. Churches, mosques, and temples were filled to overflowing as people sought comfort in faith. Others took to the streets, either in celebration of humanity's imminent ascension to the stars or in protest against what they saw as an impending invasion. In orbit, the International Space Station became humanity's first line of communication. Colonel Yuki Tanaka, the station's commander, floated before the camera, her face broadcast to billions around the world. "We've been transmitting messages of peace in every format we can imagine," she reported, her voice calm despite the circumstances. "So far, we've received no response. The alien fleet maintains its course towards Earth." As the days ticked by, the world held its breath. Military forces were mobilized, experimental weapons were armed, and evacuation plans were set in motion for major cities. Yet even as humanity prepared for the worst, hope remained. Perhaps these visitors came in peace, bearing gifts of advanced technology and cosmic wisdom. That hope was shattered 6 days after the initial detection. The alien signal, once an indecipherable mess of data, suddenly clarified. In every language on Earth, the same message played on every radio, every television, every computer screen. People of Earth, your existence has been noted, your technological progress monitored. You stand now at a crossroads. Surrender your world and submit to integration into the galactic hegemony, or face eradication. You have 24 hours to comply. Resistance is futile. Submission is survival. The ultimatum hit humanity like a physical blow. In the White House Situation Room, President Chen slumped in her chair, the weight of 4 billion lives pressing down on her shoulders. Options, she demanded, her voice hoarse. General Miguel Ortega, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, cleared his throat. Madam President, our analysis of the alien fleet suggests their technological superiority is significant. Conventional military action would be suicide. So we just give up, snapped Dr. Aisha Patel, the science advisor. Bow down to these cosmic bullies. No, President Chen said, straightening in her chair. Humanity doesn't bow. We adapt. We overcome. She turned to her chief of staff. Get me the heads of state of every major power. It's time to play our hidden card. As the ultimatum countdown began, humanity faced its darkest hour. But in secret bunkers and hidden laboratories around the world, a glimmer of hope was about to ignite. Humanity had one last trick up its sleeve, a weapon born from the deepest mysteries of quantum physics and human ingenuity. The next 24 hours would determine the fate of our species. Would humanity submit to alien dominion, or would we prove that even in the face of cosmic threats, humans don't go down without a fight? As the alien fleet drew ever closer, the people of Earth waited, caught between terror and determination. The greatest test in human history was about to begin, and the outcome would reshape the galaxy itself. The hidden weapon. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility unknown to all but a select few, Dr. Ilara Vance stood before a machine that defied conventional understanding. The quantum nexus, as it was called, hummed with barely contained energy, its intricate array of superconducting circuits and crystalline matrices pulsing with an otherworldly glow. Dr. Vance, a voice crackled over the intercom, the president is on her way down. ETA 5 minutes. Ilara nodded, though no one could see her. Her hands trembled slightly as she ran final diagnostics on the Nexus. This project had been her life's work, a collaboration between the brightest minds on the planet, all operating in utmost secrecy. Now, with alien warships bearing down on Earth, it might be humanity's last hope. The blast doors hissed open, admitting President Chen and her entourage. The president's eyes widened as she took in the massive machine. So this is it, she breathed. The ace up our sleeve. Ilara stepped forward. Madam President, welcome to Project Prometheus. What you're looking at is the culmination of decades of research into quantum entanglement, dark energy manipulation, and consciousness itself. General Ortega frowned, his bushy eyebrows knitting together. Skip the science lesson, Doctor. What does it do, and can it save us from these aliens? Ilara took a deep breath. In simple terms, the quantum nexus can rewrite the fundamental laws of physics within a localized field. We can alter gravity, manipulate time, even create matter from pure energy. But its true potential, well, we're not entirely sure. Our simulations suggest it could unlock latent abilities within the human mind, abilities that might rival or even surpass our alien visitors. President Chen's eyes narrowed. And the risks? Considerable, Ilara admitted. We're dealing with forces we barely understand. Best case scenario, we repel the alien fleet and usher in a new era for humanity. Worst case, we could tear a hole in the fabric of reality itself. A heavy silence fell over the room. It was Dr. Patel who finally broke it. We don't have a choice, she said softly. It's this or submission. President Chen nodded slowly. How soon can it be ready? We can have it fully powered in 20 hours, Ilara replied. But Madam President, there's something else you need to know. The Nexus. It needs a human pilot, someone to guide its energies, to serve as a bridge between the machine and the collective consciousness of humanity. The president's face paled. A sacrifice. Ilara shook her head. Not necessarily. But whoever interfaces with the Nexus will be changed. They'll see and experience things no human ever has. They might not come back the same, if they come back at all. As the implications sank in, alarms blared throughout the facility. General Ortega's phone buzzed, and he answered with a curt, "Report." His face grew grim as he listened. "Madam President," he said, lowering the phone, "the alien fleet has entered the solar system. They've already destroyed our outposts on Mars and the Moon. Earth's orbital defenses are engaging." But he trailed off, the unspoken truth hanging in the air. It was a losing battle. President Chen squared her shoulders. "Dr. Vance, you have 18 hours. General Ortega, I want every weapon we have ready to buy us time. Dr. Patel, find us a pilot for this thing. Someone with the mental fortitude to handle whatever the Nexus might throw at them." She paused, looking each of them in the eye. "The fate of our species rests in this room. Let's make sure humanity has a future to wake up to." As the others rushed to carry out their orders, Ilara turned back to the quantum Nexus. She placed her hand on its cool surface, feeling the thrum of power beneath. "Hold together," she whispered. "Just hold together." Above ground, the world braced for impact. The alien fleet, now visible to the naked eye, blotted out the stars, a dark promise of subjugation or extinction. Military forces around the globe mobilized, knowing full well they were likely marching to their doom. Civilians huddled in makeshift shelters or stood defiantly in the open, facing the sky with a mixture of fear and awe. In orbit, the beleaguered remnants of Earth's space forces fought a desperate holding action. Captain Zara Okoye, commanding the last of humanity's orbital platforms, watched as another of her weapons satellites winked out of existence, vaporized by the aliens' impossibly advanced technology. "Ma'am," her XO reported, voice tight with strain, "we can't hold them much longer. Our kinetic rounds aren't even scratching their hulls." Zara gritted her teeth. "Keep firing. Every second we buy could make the difference." She didn't know what the planet-side brass had planned, but she'd be damned if she'd let these invaders waltz in without bleeding them as much as possible. As the battle raged in space, a different kind of struggle unfolded in the depths of the Prometheus facility. Dr. Patel had assembled a group of candidates to pilot the Nexus. Astronauts, meditation gurus, even a few individuals with reported psychic abilities. One by one, they interfaced with the machine, and one by one, they were rejected, their minds unable to withstand the cosmic flood of information. "This isn't working," Dr. Patel groaned, rubbing her temples. "We need someone with a unique mental architecture, someone who can think beyond conventional boundaries." Ilara, who had been observing the tests, felt a chill run down her spine. She knew, with a certainty that defied logic, what had to be done. "It has to be me," she said quietly. Dr. Patel whirled to face her. "Absolutely not. You're the only one who fully understands how the Nexus works. We can't risk losing you." "That's exactly why it has to be me," Ilara insisted. "I don't just understand the Nexus. I've lived and breathed it for years. My mind is already attuned to its frequencies. I'm our best shot." Before Dr. Patel could argue further, another alarm blared. President Chen's voice came over the intercom, tense and urgent. "Our orbital defenses have fallen. The alien fleet is beginning its descent. Dr. Vance, Dr. Patel, is the Nexus ready?" Dr. Patel looked at Ilara, conflict clear in her eyes. Finally, she nodded. "May whatever gods exist have mercy on us all," she murmured. As Ilara was prepped for interface with the Nexus, reports flooded in from around the globe. The alien ships hung in the sky like dark monoliths, their very presence seeming to warp the air around them. In every major city, strange energies began to build, the precursor to what could only be assumed to be a planet-wide attack. In New York, Tokyo, Lagos, Sydney, people looked to the heavens and saw their doom approaching. Parents held their children close. Lovers shared what they feared might be their last embrace, and soldiers steeled themselves for a battle they couldn't hope to win. But in a secret bunker beneath the Rockies, humanity's last, best hope was about to be unleashed. Elara Vance stepped into the heart of the quantum nexus, her body connected to the machine by a web of glowing filaments. As the final connections were made, she felt her consciousness expand, touching minds across the planet, reaching out to the very edges of space-time itself. "Nexus is online," Dr. Paddle reported, her voice seeming to come from very far away. "Power levels are stable. Commencing full activation in T-10, 9, 8. As the countdown continued, Elara closed her eyes. In her mind's eye, she saw the Earth, beautiful and fragile. She saw the alien fleet, vast and terrible. And between them, she saw possibility, quantum strings of probability, waiting to be plucked. 3, 2, 1. Elara opened her eyes, now glowing with inner light. "Let's show them what humanity is really capable of," she said, her voice resonating with power. And with that, the quantum nexus flared to life, sending a pulse of energy that would rewrite the very laws of physics, and with them, the fate of two civilizations. The battle for Earth's future had begun, and the universe itself held its breath. Battle for Earth. The sky burned. Across the globe, the alien fleet unleashed its fury, beams of coherent light, each powerful enough to vaporize a city block, lanced down from the heavens. The air itself seemed to catch fire, superheated plasma spreading out in terrible, beautiful auroras of destruction. In Washington, D.C., President Chen watched in horror as the Capitol building crumbled, its iconic dome collapsing in on itself. "My God," she whispered, her hands clenched tight enough to draw blood. "Dr. Vance, whatever you're going to do it now." Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in the heart of the quantum nexus, Elara Vance heard the president's plea as if it had been whispered directly into her mind. Her physical body stood motionless, suspended in a web of glowing filaments. But her consciousness soared. Elara's mind expanded, touching every corner of the globe, every human mind crying out in fear and defiance. She felt their pain, their terror, their desperate hope. And she knew, with a certainty that transcended mere knowledge, what had to be done. Initiating primary sequence, she said, her voice echoing strangely in the chamber. Dr. Patel and her team watched in awe as the quantum nexus pulsed with energy, waves of iridescent light rippling outward from its core. At first, nothing seemed to change. The alien assault continued unabated, methodically erasing humanity's greatest achievements from the face of the Earth. But then, something impossible happened. In New York, as a searing beam of energy descended toward the heart of Manhattan, it suddenly stopped. The destructive force hung in the air, frozen in time, a motionless spear of light. Similar phenomena began occurring around the world. Alien weapons fire halted mid-blast. Falling debris paused in its descent. It was as if someone had pressed pause on reality itself. In orbit, Captain Zara Okoye blinked in disbelief. The alien ship she'd been futilely firing upon for the past hour suddenly seemed to flicker, its outline becoming indistinct. "What in the hell?" she muttered, then keyed her comm. "All units, report. Are you seeing this?" Back in the Nexus chamber, Elara's body began to glow, tendrils of energy coruscating across her skin. "The fundamental forces," she said, her voice overlaid with harmonics that hurt the ears of those listening. "Gravity, electromagnetism, the strong and weak nuclear forces. They're all negotiable." Dr. Patel's eyes widened as she understood. "She's rewriting the laws of physics themselves," she breathed. Across the Earth, reality began to warp and twist. Gravity reversed itself in localized pockets, sending alien landing craft tumbling upward into the sky. Electromagnetic fields powerful enough to rival magnetars sprang into existence, shorting out alien technology, and creating impromptu force fields around human population centers. In the skies above Beijing, an alien dreadnought found itself suddenly transmuted into a flock of startled geese. In the streets of Rio de Janeiro, a squad of alien shock troops watched in horror as their weapon fire transformed into harmless bubbles, drifting away on the breeze. The tide of battle shifted dramatically. Human forces, bolstered by these reality-warping effects, began to push back against their would-be conquerors. Fighter jets that had been on the verge of being swatted from the sky now danced between alien ships with impossible agility, their missiles guided by probability itself to find the weakest points in enemy armor. But the aliens were not so easily defeated. Their commanders, realizing the source of this unprecedented resistance, redirected their assault. A barrage of exotic particles, designed to disrupt the very fabric of space-time, was launched toward the Rocky Mountains. In the Nexus chamber, alarms blared. "They've located us," Dr. Petel shouted over the din. "The mountain won't hold against that kind of firepower." Ilara heard, but she was beyond fear now. Her consciousness had expanded to encompass not just the Earth, but the entire solar system. She sensed the fear and confusion of the alien fleet, the disbelief of their leaders as their sure victory crumbled before them. And then she sensed something else, something vast and ancient, stirring in the depths of human collective unconscious. "Oh," Ilara said, a smile touching her lips. "Oh, I see now." With a thought, she extended her awareness further, touching the minds of the alien invaders. And in that touch, she understood them. Their history, their culture, their reasons for this invasion. It all became clear. The galactic hegemony, as they called themselves, had ruled this sector of the galaxy for millennia. They saw themselves as shepherds, guiding younger races into a controlled, orderly existence. But in that guidance, they had stagnated. Their technology, for all its apparent advancement, was nothing more than millennia of incremental improvements. They had lost the spark of innovation, the drive to transcend their limitations. And now, faced with humanity's quantum leap, they were terrified. Ilara's laughter rang out, a sound of pure joy and understanding. "Don't you see?" she said, addressing not just her fellow humans, but the aliens as well. "This was always our destiny, not to be conquered, not to conquer, but to evolve, to become something more." With a gesture that transcended physical space, Ilara reached out to the alien fleet, but instead of destruction, she offered understanding. Knowledge flowed between species, the secrets of human ingenuity and adaptability, the accumulated wisdom of the hegemony's long history. In orbit, on the ground, in the hearts and minds of every sentient being touched by this exchange, a profound change began to take hold. The alien weapons fell silent. The destruction ceased, and in its place, a new sound began to rise, a harmony of voices, human and alien alike, as two civilizations realized they had more to gain from cooperation than conflict. In the White House, President Chen watched in awe as the screens showing devastation were replaced by images of alien ships landing peacefully, their occupants emerging with hands raised in gestures of peace. "Dr. Vance," she said, her voice choked with emotion, "what have you done?" Ilara's voice, now seemingly coming from everywhere and nowhere, replied, "I've given us a future, Madam President. All of us." As the realization of what had occurred spread across the globe, cheers erupted from every corner of the earth. Humanity had not just survived its greatest trial, it had transcended it. But even as celebration began, Ilara knew this was just the beginning. The power of the quantum nexus had unlocked something within humanity, a potential that had always been there, waiting to be awakened. The age of human limitation was over. The age of human potential had just begun. And the universe, vast and wondrous, awaited the great revelation. In the days following what would come to be known as the quantum convergence, Earth found itself in a state of profound transformation. The initial euphoria of victory gave way to a deeper, more complex reality as humanity grappled with the implications of their newfound abilities and place in the cosmos. Dr. Aisha Patel stood before a hastily assembled United Nations special session, her holographic form projected simultaneously to gatherings around the world. The once secret Prometheus project was now the focal point of global attention, and as its lead scientist, Aisha had the unenviable task of explaining the inexplicable. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice steadied despite the weight of the moment. "What we experienced was not merely a defensive measure against an alien threat. It was, in essence, the next step in human evolution." Murmurs rippled through the assembled crowds. On screens worldwide, people leaned in, hanging on every word. "The quantum nexus," Aisha continued, "didn't just manipulate the laws of physics. It unlocked dormant potential within the human mind, potential that, we now understand, has always been there. What Dr. Vance accomplished was to bridge the gap between our conscious minds and the underlying quantum nature of reality itself." She paused, allowing the magnitude of this statement to sink in. In simple terms, humanity has gained the ability to influence reality through thought and will. The extent of these abilities varies from person to person, but the potential for growth is, well, limitless. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of questions and exclamations. Aisha raised her hand, calling for silence. "I know this is overwhelming. We're still in the early stages of understanding these changes. But I can tell you this. The world as we knew it is gone. We stand on the threshold of a new era for humanity." As Aisha fielded questions from increasingly agitated world leaders, scenes of wonder and chaos played out across the globe. In a small village in rural India, a young girl concentrated on a withered plant, watching in awe as it sprang back to life, blooming with impossible speed. In the ruins of downtown Los Angeles, rescue workers found themselves imbued with superhuman strength, lifting fallen debris to free trapped survivors. At CERN, physicists wept with joy as their thoughts alone manipulated subatomic particles, unlocking secrets of the universe that had eluded them for decades. But with these marvels came challenges. Reports flooded in of individuals losing control of their newfound abilities, causing unintentional damage or harm. The ethical implications of a world where thought could literally shape reality were staggering. Meanwhile, in a secure medical facility, Ilara Vance lay in a state beyond conventional understanding. Her physical body was present, but scans showed brain activity unlike anything ever recorded. It was as if her consciousness existed in multiple planes of reality simultaneously. Dr. Marcus Chen, the facility's lead neurologist, addressed the team of scientists and government officials gathered around Ilara's bedside. "We believe Dr. Vance has become a sort of nexus herself," he explained. "Her mind is acting as a bridge not just between humanity and the quantum realm, but between our species and the galactic hegemony." President Chen, who had insisted on being present, leaned in closer. "Is she aware? Can she communicate?" As if in response, Ilara's eyes fluttered open. But what looked out from those eyes was more than just Ilara Vance. It was as if the collective wisdom of humanity and the vastness of the cosmos gazed upon them. "Hello, Amelia," Ilara said, her voice carrying echoes of distant stars. "It's time we had a talk about the future." Over the next few hours, Ilara, or the being she had become, laid out a vision of humanity's path forward that left her listeners alternately awestruck and terrified. "The quantum nexus didn't just unlock our potential," she explained. "It connected us to the fundamental consciousness of the universe itself. We are part of a vast, cosmic network of minds, and now we can access it." She went on to describe how this connection had already begun to change humanity on a cellular level. People across the world were discovering abilities that defied conventional understanding. Telepathy, telekinesis, the power to manipulate matter and energy with a thought. "But this is just the beginning," Ilara continued. "As we learn to harness these abilities, to understand our place in the greater cosmic order, we'll be able to reshape reality itself." The only limits will be those of our imagination and our wisdom in using these gifts. President Chen, her face pale with the weight of this revelation, asked the question on everyone's mind. And the aliens? The hegemony? What happens now? Ilara smiled, a gesture somehow both deeply human and profoundly alien. They're waiting, Amelia, waiting to see what we'll do next. The hegemony has ruled through technological superiority for eons, but what we've achieved, it's beyond anything they've ever encountered. We've scared them, yes, but we've also awakened something in them, a remembrance of their own potential for growth and change. She sat up, her movements fluid and graceful despite her long confinement. Humanity stands at a crossroads. We can use these gifts to usher in an age of unparalleled peace and prosperity, not just for Earth but for the galaxy at large. Or we can fall into the trap of fear and domination, becoming the very thing we just fought against. As Ilara's words spread across the globe, humanity found itself united in a way it never had been before. The petty divisions of nation, race, and creed seemed insignificant in the face of this cosmic awakening. But with unity came new challenges. How would society function when individuals could alter reality with a thought? What systems of governance could possibly manage a population of budding reality warpers? And perhaps most pressingly, how would humanity handle its newfound place on the galactic stage? As night fell across a changed Earth, billions of souls looked to the stars with new eyes. The universe was vaster and more wondrous than they had ever imagined, filled with dangers and opportunities beyond comprehension. But for the first time in human history, they faced that infinite expanse, not with fear or a sense of insignificance, but with the growing realization that they were an integral part of the cosmic tapestry. The age of human limitation was over. The age of human transcendence had begun, and the universe held its breath, waiting to see what this young, newly awakened species would do next. A new dawn for humanity. 5 years after the quantum convergence, Earth had become a planet that would have been unrecognizable to its former inhabitants. The skylines of major cities were now dominated by impossible structures that seemed to defy gravity, their gleaming spires reaching towards the stars. Gardens flourished in once barren deserts, their plants nourished by thought as much as by sun and water. And in the streets, humans went about their daily lives with an air of wonder and possibility that had once been the sole province of wide-eyed children. Dr. Aisha Patel stood on the observation deck of Harmony Station, Earth's first major off-world colony. Through the transparent aluminum windows, she could see the blue marble of Earth below, and beyond it, the inky blackness of space, dotted with the lights of approaching ships, some human, some very much not. Quite a view, isn't it? A familiar voice said behind her. Aisha turned to see Ilara Vance, or rather, the being that Ilara had become. In the years since the convergence, Ilara had taken on a form that seemed to shift and change depending on who was looking at her, as if her physical appearance was as mutable as the reality she could now manipulate. "I never get tired of it," Aisha admitted. "Sometimes I still can't believe how far we've come in such a short time." Ilara smiled, her eyes twinkling with starlight. "And yet, we've only just begun to scratch the surface of what's possible." The two women stood in comfortable silence for a moment, watching as a massive ship of alien design gracefully docked with the station. It was a trade vessel from the Andromeda galaxy, carrying exotic materials and knowledge to exchange with humanity's latest innovations. "The Galactic Council convenes tomorrow," Ilara said, her tone becoming more serious. "Are we ready?" Aisha nodded, though she couldn't quite keep the nervousness from her voice. "As ready as we'll ever be, I suppose. It's not every day you petition for your species to be recognized as a major galactic power." The Galactic Council was the ruling body of the known universe, a gathering of the most advanced and influential species across multiple galaxies. For millennia, the galactic hegemony had held a seat of power there. Now, humanity was poised to join their ranks, a meteoric rise that was unprecedented in cosmic history. "We've earned our place," Ilara said firmly, "not through conquest or intimidation, but through innovation and a willingness to challenge the very nature of reality itself. As if to emphasize her point, Ilara waved her hand, and the space around them shimmered. Suddenly, they were standing not in the observation deck, but on the surface of an alien world, its twin suns setting in a sky of burnished gold. Kepler 186f. Ilara explained, seeing Aisha's questioning look. One of the first exoplanets we're terraforming. The colonists arrive next month. Aisha marveled at the landscape around her, rolling hills covered in vegetation that was almost, but not quite, like anything on Earth. In the distance, she could see the gleaming domes of a fledgling human settlement. "It's beautiful," she breathed. With another wave of Ilara's hand, they were back on Harmony Station. "That's just one of 100 worlds we're preparing," Ilara said. "Humanity is spreading among the stars, Aisha. And everywhere we go, we're changing things, improving things." Aisha nodded, but a frown creased her brow. "Not everyone sees it that way. There are species out there who fear us, who see our abilities as a threat to the cosmic order." "Fear of change is a constant throughout the universe," Ilara acknowledged. "But so is the potential for growth. We've already seen it with the hegemony. Once they got over their initial shock, many of them embraced the new reality we've ushered in. They're rediscovering their own capacity for evolution." Their conversation was interrupted by a chime from Aisha's communicator. She checked it and sighed. "The final briefing for tomorrow's council meeting. I should go." Ilara nodded. "Give them hell, Dr. Patel. Show the galaxy what humanity is truly capable of." As Aisha hurried off to her meeting, Ilara turned her gaze back to the Earth below. In the 5 years since the convergence, humanity had faced countless challenges. The initial chaos as people grappled with their new abilities had led to accidents, conflicts, and more than a few disasters. But they had persevered, adapting with the same tenacity that had defined their species since they first looked up at the stars and dreamed of touching them. Now faster-than-light travel was commonplace. Diseases that had plagued humanity for millennia were eradicated with a thought. Clean, limitless energy powered their civilization, and the concept of scarcity had become a distant memory. But perhaps most importantly, humanity had not hoarded these advancements for themselves. As they expanded into the cosmos, they shared their knowledge freely, lifting up less developed species and challenging more advanced ones to reach even greater heights. It hadn't all been smooth sailing, of course. There had been conflicts, misunderstandings, and even a few short-lived wars as humanity found its place in the galactic community. But each challenge had been met with creativity, compassion, and an unwavering belief in the potential for positive change. As the day of the Galactic Council meeting dawned, Ilara found herself standing beside President Chen, now serving her 3rd term as the unified Earth government's leader, and Dr. Patel. They were in a vast chamber that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once, with representatives from thousands of species arrayed around them. The arch-cognitor of the council, a being of pure energy, addressed the assembly. "We are gathered here to consider the petition of the species known as humanity for recognition as a major galactic power and a seat on this council. Never in our history has a species progressed so quickly from planetary isolation to cosmic influence. We have all felt the ripples of their awakening across the universe." There was a murmur among the assembled representatives, some of approval, some of concern. "Humanity," the arch-cognitor continued, "you have reshaped the very fabric of reality. You have challenged our understanding of what is possible. And now you stand before us, asking to help shape the future of our galactic community. What say you?" President Chen stepped forward, her voice clear and strong. "Honored members of the council, we come before you not as conquerors, not as gods, but as seekers. We have been given a gift, the ability to shape reality itself. But with that gift comes a great responsibility." She gestured to the assembled aliens. "We've learned so much from all of you in these past years. We've seen wonders that have humbled us and horrors that have strengthened our resolve. And through it all, we've come to understand one fundamental truth. We are all connected. The same cosmic consciousness that we've tapped into flows through every being in this chamber, through every star and planet in the universe. We don't seek a seat on this council out of a desire for power or control, Chen continued. We seek it because we believe that together we can create a future brighter than any one of us could imagine alone. Humanity's gift is not just the ability to reshape reality. It's the drive to always ask what if, to never stop pushing the boundaries of what's possible. We stand ready to share our knowledge, to learn from your wisdom, and to work alongside all of you in crafting a universe of boundless potential. We are human, we are awake, and we are ready to take our place among the stars. As Chen's words echoed through the chamber, Ilara felt a shift in the cosmic consciousness. She sensed curiosity, hope, and yes, a little fear, but overwhelmingly, she felt acceptance. The Archcognitor's form pulsed with light. We have heard your words, humanity, and we have felt the truth of them. By the power vested in this council, we hereby recognize Earth and its colonies as a major galactic power. Welcome, humanity, to the cosmic community. May your light shine bright among the stars. A cheer went up from the Earth delegation, echoed by many of the alien representatives. As congratulations poured in and new alliances were forged, Ilara found a quiet moment with Aisha and President Chen. So, Aisha said, a mix of excitement and trepidation in her voice. What happens now? Ilara smiled, her form shimmering with the possibilities of countless futures. Now, my friends, we get to work. We have a universe to explore, civilizations to uplift, and wonders beyond imagining to discover. She looked out at the assembled species, at the swirling galaxies visible through the chamber's multidimensional windows, and at her fellow humans, no longer bound by the limitations of their past, but freed to create a future limited only by the scope of their imagination. The real adventure, Ilara said, her eyes gleaming with the light of billions of stars, is just beginning. As humanity took its first steps into a larger universe, the cosmos itself seemed to hold its breath in anticipation. The age of limitation was over. The age of wonder had begun. And the stars themselves whispered with the infinite possibilities that lay ahead. The end, or perhaps just the beginning.